HellFest is the worst, best thing I've ever seen in theaters. Let's talk about it. So I've always loved horror, and another thing I love is watching video essays on YouTube. And I've always wondered, hey, I could do that. I have a lot of opinions. I consider myself reasonably intelligent enough to comment on things and discuss movies and their deeper meanings. And I'm too lazy for all that. That's a lot of work for me. So I'm just going to talk about things from memory and completely randomly, and if I make a mistake, I make a mistake. I saw HellFest like a few years ago, and I saw it in theaters with some friends, and it was awful in the best ways. Basically, the plot is like a group of friends go to, those amusement parks where like either they'll get like a horror overlay for the season, or like it's like a traveling carnival and it's like haunted houses and spooky trails. HellFest is about a group of people going to one of these horror theme parks, and there's a killer on the loose. Okay, generic, but whatever. I love horror. It's favorite genre. When it's bad, it's good. When it's good, it's great. I love it. I went into this movie, I'd seen the previews for it and thought like, okay, it's been a while since we've had a good slasher. They keep trying to be inventive. That sounds so stupid of me.
I hate when movies are like inventive. It's like, just do it again.
I like inventive horror movies, but I'm just kind of sick of, trying to think of the next clever thing, the next smart thing, the next idea that's gonna blow everyone's dicks off. But for me, I was just wanting a simple, by the numbers, kids go into place, one kid gets out of place, that's the horror movie, standard fare. And I had seen like previews for this and thought, oh, this is it. This is gonna be my movie. It looks basic as it could possibly be, but I'm into that. I went into it open-minded, like, this is probably not gonna be very good, but I love horror, so I'm gonna have a great time. It was so bad. It was bad in every facet. Performances that were turned in were awful. The script was bad, the props were bad, everything was bad, but in a way that just makes my heart fill with joy. If you never saw it, which would not surprise me, basically these kids go to this horror amusement park picked off one by one by a masked killer. Now, I'm just going to walk you through it because, again, I don't have time for research and thoughts. Basically, the opening is when I knew, oh, we're in for a treat, mama. Because it opens, there's a girl, she's being chased, guy comes in and kills her in what I would qualify as the doing your taxes of murder. As in the most bland, boring, basic murder scene. He just stabs her. That's it. He just stabs her. There's nothing fanciful or creative about it. It's not trying to be or do anything. And I loved it. I was like, okay, so this is just going to be a by-the-numbers horror. And that's sort of our cold open. It starts on your main character. It's like a group of girls. You've got two girls that are really close. And here's how you know they're really close. So that old writing thing of like, oh, show, don't tell. It's like this movie did like a monkey's paw version of that, where it was like the main girl that you're following comes over, and I don't remember the dialogue very well because it's not very good. Basically, she walks into the scene with her friend that she hasn't seen in some time. They've all been sort of scattered to the four winds. And she's like,
you're my best friend. You're my friend, my best friend. We're best friends. We've always been best friends.
And there's another girl in the scene, so there's three. So there's the two
best friends.
And then this other girl that, like, the main girl that you're following doesn't really like. The other girl, the
best friend,
is sort of like, give her a chance. She's not so bad. And they kind of all agree we're going to go on this fun night with us and some guys to this amusement park. It's spooky. Let's have a good time. It's all really bad. The main girl and the best friend girl are both wearing these chunky heart necklaces, like the half-heart friendship, like, necklaces. And they are the tackiest, ugliest thing that I don't think any modern girl would wear. It just seemed like when they were writing it, they thought like, how can we indicate that these girls are really close and they're really good friends? Well, we don't have time to be like showing it to the audience. Oh, well, we can show it to them. Let's give them big, chunky friend jewelry. If I directed the movie, like, and remade it, I would have the necklaces get bigger and bigger in every scene until they're just dragging them on the ground by the end. It was so comical to me. Right before the scene changes and they're, like, at the amusement park, the best friend character says to main girl, oh, "You're not wearing that, are you?" Or some version of it. And main girl is like, "Oh, yeah, I was gonna wear it. Oh, should I change?" And the best friend girl is like, "Mm-hmm." And you think, this feels really weird. It's like a date movie, sort of like, oh, you're gonna meet your man, we've gotta try on outfits. Maybe there'll be a montage. But the scene just cuts to the next scene, and all she changed was the shirt she's wearing under her jacket that you can barely see, or at least that's all it looked like she changed. And I openly laughed in the theater. I thought it was the funniest thing in the world, because can you just imagine if you and your friend were sitting talking and you're like, "Ooh, I've got a date," and your friend goes, "You're not wearing that, are you?" And you go, "Oh God, do I need to change?" And your friend goes, "Mm-hmm, it's time to change, girl." And then you show up to the date, like smash cut to the date, and you're in the exact same outfit, except like you've changed your socks.
So stupid.
They get to the amusement park, and there's no like rides. It seems to just be haunted houses, which I've never been to like a proper horror park. Maybe that's what it is. But like, it just sort of seemed like, this is the craziest place. It's so scary. Oh, they have so many things. And it's just haunted houses. Whatever. And you see the killer arrive, and there's like metal detectors before you get into the park. And so you've got a group of guys and girls, your main characters or whatever, they all get in. And the killer gets in. He immediately finds a weapon, and I think it's like an ice pick, if I'm remembering. Again, this is all from memory. And he picks it up off of like a food cart that's in the park. And I just thought, like, what if he couldn't find a weapon? Like, what if he got in there and just couldn't find one? Like, again, in my mind, I was directing like a parody movie of it as I was watching it, because it was just so comical, of like the dialogue being so on the nose and the chunky heart jewelry and the "you need to change," and I digress. So the killer gets his weapon, and the main characters are going from haunted house to haunted house, and they've got some like kid dialogue that's very like forced, or teen rather, maybe. I don't know. I don't remember how old they are. Probably college age, I think. Yeah, something like that. So you've got main girl, best friend of main girl, and then the girl that main girl isn't really a fan of. They've kind of got an interesting dynamic. Maybe I would say that's probably the most competently done thing in the movie, is that their dynamic, at least, is, if not believable, at least it's enjoyable to watch. But anyways, okay. So they get into one of the haunted houses, and the killer's there, and he's chasing a girl. And it's that whole thing where, like, when you set a horror movie in like a horror place around Halloween, people think like, oh, it's just a show, it's just a performance, these are actors. So they're in the haunted house, and this girl runs in and is like, oh, I'm being chased, help, don't tell him where I'm going. And she hides, and the killer comes in, and main girl is immediately sells her out down the river. She's like, oh, she's over there. I think. I can't remember who it was, but someone's like, oh, she's over there. The killer drags her out and kills her in front of main girl. And main girl's like kind of creeped out, but is still sort of like, oh, it's probably just it's a prop, it's all fake. Which, okay, it's a smart idea. It's been done before, but it's a smart idea. And then they like leave. They're running around. Killer starts to pick them off. One with like a big wooden mallet on one of those like test your strength things, which I thought was so goofy, but like, I can get behind that. It's goofiness that I enjoy. One guy gets like a syringe in the eye. It's almost, the guy characters don't really get a lot of attention, but they're sort of starting to get picked off. So I can't remember the order in which these things happen, because it all kind of bleeds together. They have like actors walking around the park to like hassle you. One of the actors spits like slime in the main girl's hair, and it gets in her hair and on her outfit, and she's like,
Oh no.
so her and best friend girl go into the bathroom to wash up and clean the slime off. And they're talking, and it's really cheesy, and the necklaces, and best friends. And they decide like, oh, we're gonna travel, we're gonna take a trip together. Oh, I love you, girl. again, just ham-fistedly shoving down your throat that these girls are friends. And it will not let you forget. Don't you forget that they're friends. They've always been friends, and they'll always be friends, and don't you even question that. So stupid. The best friend leaves, and main girl is in the bathroom. And she's washed the section of her hair with the goop in it, and it looks like I have pretty thick hair, so it's a pretty apt comparison. It looks like she's washing this much hair, like this much of a strand, and her hair is longer, but just this much of a strand. And so, but she's acting like it's all over her hair, and like her night is ruined. Even though they're out, the whole thing is like open air, except for the haunted houses, so I don't know why she's acting like this, but whatever, it's an emergency. She's gotta get it out of her hair. She washes it, and then she walks over to a hand dryer that's like set up on the wall, and turns it on to dry her hair. To like put her head under it and dry the section of hair. Even though it's like a 1-inch section of hair that's like a little damp, and she immediately has to dry it off. She can't walk around with that wet hair. Not in this warm weather. And this is, no joke, I don't remember a lot of this movie. I remember this vividly because I was cackling the whole time. So she's underneath the hair dryer up on the wall, whatever it was, drying her hair, and she's doing it like this. Like she's finger banging her hair to get it dry. And I thought it was I'm like, why is she drying it so sensually? Like, open your eyes. Like, it's creeping me out. Like, it was an uncomfortable moment for her because it felt intimate. And then, of course, the killer is standing right there. Well, she's drying it, but she has her eyes closed because she's got to
Get real in the mood.
And he's standing right there, and I thought, how funny would it be if the dryer just turned off and she just opened her eyes and she just saw the killer? Because it was clearly supposed to be one of those moments of like, I'm
Standing here watching you, but when you open your eyes, I'll be gone.
But what if she just opened her eyes before he left and just like, oh, hi. Like, would you just kill her? Like, what do you do in that situation where you're like, no.
Well, now you've ruined it.
Another bathroom scene that was great is so her like guy that she's interested in, again, none of these characters matter, so if you're trying to keep track, don't. Like, honey, save yourself the time. She's in the bathroom, sitting down, and she's on her phone, and she's texting this guy who's dead. The killer has his phone, and is texting her back as the guy. And he texts her from right outside the stall, and she hears the phone go off outside the stall and realizes, oh my God, there's someone outside the stall with what's-his-face's phone.
Oh my, I'm in danger. It might be this guy that's been messing with us all night.
And like the door's rattling, he's trying to get in, and she's freaking out. It's a standard public restroom. So he's outside one of the stalls, which are all connected, banging on the door. And so her plan is to crawl underneath that stall to just the next stall over, and then get up on the toilet as if he's gonna think, when he gets that door open to the first stall that she was initially in,
Oh, I guess she just left. Oh, well, she teleported. She got me, gal.
like, and he doesn't. He immediately looks over and sees her and just grabs her. And she's shocked that this didn't work. That he didn't just go,
Oh, I guess she wasn't in there, even though she was just in there, and there's only one place she could have gone.
and I just thought this was so funny. And they call like a security guard to be like, oh, there's a man chasing us. And of course he hears a bunch of kids whining and is basically like, oh, they're meant to chase you. This place is supposed to be scary. You know, there's nothing I can do about it. They're just actors. And this is always one of those stupid things where basically the movie's trying to write in a thing where you can't leave the movie going, well, why didn't they tell security? Because, we covered that. We wrote it in. Oh, we wrote around it. We're brilliant. No, you didn't. You didn't write around. Because they try in the weakest. They might as well be like,
Mr. Security Person, we're getting real scared at this spooky place. Can you help?
no. Oh, darn it. Oh, dang. Oh, dang it. Like, they immediately give up. So it's like, you did not cover it. Like, I hate when movies do this, where they understand the first criticism of their movie is going to be, why didn't the character do X, Y, or Z? So they write in that character trying to do X, Y, or Z in the most flimsy, half-hearted, barely tried sort of way so that you can be like,
Well, I had the characters try and do that, and it didn't work.
and of course it didn't work. Because this was what I would have done. Security guard comes in and goes, they're just actors, you know, you can't be scared. You have so many options. I'm having a medical emergency. I feel like I'm having a heart attack. I need you to escort me out of this park. And if you think I'm making it up or being dramatic, if you're willing to go to court on that, if I die or if something happens to me, then okay. But what trouble would it be for you? Just escort me out of the park, me and my friends. And if you're thinking, oh, well, the security guard's really dense for some reason and wouldn't even believe you then, punch him. Right? Like, just punch him in the face. Or, like, slap him or whatever. Like, I'm not saying, you know, beat the man to death. I'm just saying punch him or kick him or slap him. Be like,
Okay, well, now what do you want to do? Would you like to eject me from the park? Because that's what I want.
there you go. Like, well, he can't really ignore that. Like, even if he's dense, if anything, that would make him more inclined to have an overreaction to being, like, slapped in the face. Be like,
Hey, you can't do that. We're getting you out of here.
because if you really thought a killer was trying to kill you and security gives you this, like, lukewarm, like, oh, I don't believe you, you would do whatever it took to be like, I'm getting ejected from this park, and that's just what's going to happen. It continues. It gets to a part where there's, like a main square area, and the show is going on. And the show is, like, a fake beheading, and they, like, ask for, like, a person from the audience to come up and, oh, come up and do this fake beheading. It's fun. And one of the three girls, not best friend or main girl, the other one, goes up. She's like, I'll do it. And gets in the guillotine, and she's, like, locked in. And obviously it's, like, a trick. It's supposed to be an illusion. And they do the little illusion. It's cute. Ah, yay. Curtain goes down. The killer's there. And she's still strapped into this fake guillotine. And he brings it down to kill her. But it's dull. The blade's a prop. So it just sort of chops into her neck, and it cuts her a little bit. But he's, like, gonna raise it up, and you think, oh, this is gonna be gnarly. Like, he's gonna slowly chop her head off. This is gonna be, oh my god, like a good moment of horror. But she gets loose, which I'm still like, that's fine. That's cool too. Like, she got away. Now what? Now what's gonna happen? I swear to you, this is exactly how the events unfold. You think she's gonna die from this, like, prop guillotine that you're gonna keep bringing down on her to kill her. She gets away, so you think, oh, she's gonna make it back to the other girls, all the friends, and they're gonna get out. She gets, like, 10 feet from where they could have killed her with a cool death to be unceremoniously just stabbed. They just kill her. And during her death scene, they just kill another one of the guys. Like, they forgot he was in the script. This guy had, like, 4 lines throughout the whole movie, and he's been with the group the whole time, but I kept forgetting about him. But basically, like, girl that was about to die from the guillotine gets away, walks 10 feet, killer just walks up to her, stabs her. The guy from their group that's barely been speaking, that I completely forgot about, walks up to be like,
Hey, you, don't you stab my friend.
and the killer just turns around and just stabs him. And he just dies during another death scene. How thankless. Like, you got your big break, you made it into a movie, and, like, you don't even get your own death scene. Yours is just, like, an ancillary event to someone else's death. And they could have killed that girl with such a cool, creative, visual death. And it's, no, just stab her in a crowd, like, 5 feet away from that cool device that could have killed her. Because, like, I understand what I think they were going for, which is, oh, you thought she was going to get away, but she didn't. Like,
We played with your emotions, didn't we? You're upset, aren't you?
and it's like, no, for that to have worked, you should have let her get away for longer. Because if you're going to have her almost die, then escape and start to get away, and then just immediately kill her still, I didn't even have time to really think about it, other than thinking, that's weird. That seems like a weird writing choice. Everyone's panicking and freaking out. The 2 girls now, which is pretty much all that's left, I think they are all that's left, is so main girl and best friend girl. And main girl and best friend girl are basically, like, everyone's freaking out, by the way. They all watch the girl get stabbed and the guy get stabbed. So, like, everyone's panicking and running. Now they know there's a killer on the loose for realsies. Main girl and best friend girl are like, oh, we have to get out. We have to run. And so they start to leave. And there's up a flight of stairs, a door that leads into what is visibly clearly a haunted house. The one girl, I can't remember which one of them says it, goes,
I think that might be the way out.
what? We're outside now. So, like, we know the way out is going to at least be some version of outside. So, like, why would the way out be up a flight of stairs and into a door into a secluded, clearly a haunted house building? Like, I can't make it obvious enough to you listening how much it was so obviously not an exit. But they go up and inside it and they go in there like,
Oh, damn it! It wasn't an exit! We walked into a how could this have happened?
and they can't get, like, and I think they either break the handle off or they can't get the door back open. But for some reason they decide, like, well, we're not leaving. And they start going through the haunted house and they're picking up all the weapons in all the rooms because it's like dungeons and stuff. But all the weapons are props, so they're all fake. The killer gets in this haunted house that these girls have come into because he's really gunning for him. And they're stupid, I don't blame him.
Remember, they're best friends. Don't you ever forget. They've got the necklaces to prove it if you don't believe me.
The killer gets into like the final haunted house. It's the big confrontation. And he picks an axe out of a dummy. And the axe is real. And if anyone liked this movie and they're going to defend it by saying, like, oh, well, he planted it there, because at the end it's revealed that, like, he's essentially an employee and he does this all over the country at different horror theme parks. So he's probably planted in every haunted house real weaponry. No, he hasn't. Like, that's so... The amount of time and effort that would take to, like, get all of those things into the park and then into each haunted house. It just... And even if he had, what if the girls had picked that one up? And what if someone else had picked it up? Like, another kid messing around. Like, there are just so many ways this could not work out. And again, if I was directing it, he would have picked up, like, one of the prop axes and just had to make do. It's a real axe, somehow. He found a real axe. He has a real axe. That I guess he probably put there himself, even though that makes no sense. And, like, they're kind of chasing each other throughout the house. And he ends up getting away, and the girls end up getting away. And it's revealed, like I said at the end, that he is, like, an employee of many of these parks. He's got uniforms for a bunch of different ones.
And he has a family, because anyone can be a killer.
And it's clearly meant to make you feel like, wow, what a reveal. But it's like, I never didn't think he was like an everyman. Like, he's not a juggernaut. He's not a Michael Myers or a Freddy Krueger. Like, I knew he was just a guy that was killing people. Like, because they reveal, like, he has a daughter. And he lives in, like, a suburban home. It's like, okay, I didn't think he lived in a cave, so that's not a reveal to me. But then you have just all the delicious setup for a sequel then, which I hope, like, this was so funny. Oh my God, I almost forgot to tell you. So how they get out of the haunted house at the end, like when the killer's in there, is they trick him, but it's so obvious that, like, when they wrote in these half-heart friendship necklaces for the two main girls, because they're bad writers and they needed a way to show you that they were friends without actually showing you, and when they wrote them in, they were clearly so proud of that idea that they're like, how are we going to use these necklaces? These necklaces are really going to come into play. And what they do is there's a room full of robed mannequins, and they realize the killer's going to get us if we don't, like, figure something out. And their idea is, let's get in the robes and dress like one of the mannequins and stand in the room. And we'll put our necklaces around one of the mannequins' necks so that he'll think that we're the other mannequins. Even though that's so weird and, like, why would they... whatever. My biggest thing is, how did they get those little-ass clasps on necklaces so quickly? Like, a killer is a few rooms behind you, and you're having time to put a necklace meticulously on a mannequin and then hide yourself among them. But no, they put the necklaces on and it works. It tricks him. I'm using the axe. Oh, it's a mannequin. Oh, they jumped me. And I cackled so hard. I thought it was the funniest, stupidest plan. They obviously were just like, how are we going to use these friendship necklaces? Because if you don't see them every 10 minutes, how are you going to know that they're friends? Anyways, HellFest was so good. It's funny. I highly recommend it. It's so dumb. It doesn't make any sense. But I liked it. Like, I had a fun time watching it. Like, if you think I didn't like this movie, you are wrong. I loved it. I want a sequel. I want a franchise. It's like all the Paranormal Activity movies. I know they're bad. I know that. I love them. I want more. I'm sad we stopped getting them. It was like a soap opera. That doesn't come around that often. But yeah, I love horror and I love HellFest.